Hello and welcome to another edition of Jamaica Magazine. It's Tuesday, March 11, and I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. Coming up in today's show, the process involved when applying to be a Justice of the Peace, especially with an expunged record. We'll have that and more, but first, a quick break is up next, followed by our daily news. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
So, Bonnie, you renew your road license yet?
Babes, the road have me away. I can't even find time, but you know money have to make.
Because see, I shall out them money the back for late fee and record fee when you sit down make your road license expire upon you.
Well, transport authority so we can apply online. And that me I got to know.
Operators of public passenger vehicles and commercial carriers, renew your road license before April 1 and avoid late penalty. A message from the Transport Authority.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, March 11, 2025. The National Housing Trust, NHT, says within the next 5 weeks it will be breaking ground for over 6,000 housing solutions in St. Mary, St. James, and Clarendon. Chair of the Board of Directors, Linval Freeman, says this is in addition to 4,000 solutions that are already under construction. He was speaking at the groundbreaking for the Mount Nelson housing development in Manchester on Friday. It is being constructed by Henan Fifth under the agency's Developers Program.
The growth and evolution of the development program, along with the Guaranteed Purchase Program, have allowed us to work with developers to bridge the gap between supply and demand for housing. We have made significant headways in the number of projects we have been able to realize under these programs, and we welcome even more development opportunities with our partners.
Mr. Freeman says the NHT continues to expand its housing program and mortgage products to cater to the needs of beneficiaries. He reveals that residents of Mount Nelson will benefit from deferred mortgage, which offers a flexible payment plan over the life of the loan. They may also access the intergenerational and parent assist mortgage that allows parents to partner with their children to make the mortgage more affordable. The government has established a monument in recognition of healthcare workers who died in the line of duty as they served and sacrificed during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was unveiled at the National Chest Hospital on March 10, which marks the 5th anniversary of the first confirmed case on the island and bears the names of the workers who died. Participating were Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton, Leader of the Opposition Mark Golding, and Executive Director of the Mona Aging and Wellness Center, Professor Denise Eldemar Scherer. Dr. Holness says the monument represents the courage, dedication, and selfless sacrifice of the healthcare workers who stood on the front line during one of the most challenging periods in our nation's recent history.
They put their duty above their fears, their patients above their own well-being, and in doing so, they saved countless lives. We honor those who did not return home to their families. We must always remember that these are names of mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, friends and colleagues. They were Jamaicans who gave everything to protect their community. As a nation, we owe them more than a monument. We owe them a commitment to never take for granted the sacrifices by those who serve.
Minister Christopher Tufton adds that their service is an inspiration that fuels the Health Ministry and the government to continue to honor and celebrate our healthcare heroes.
It is my hope that this place can be one where reflection happens, where we are reminded to be grateful, and where we recommit ourselves to realizing a better future in public health for all, at all ages. Further, and perhaps most importantly, I trust that it can be a place where the heroes we lost are always remembered and their sacrifices always honored.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says Jamaica is now better prepared for future shocks following the COVID-19 pandemic. He He asserts that the pandemic exposed vulnerabilities that the government has since worked tirelessly to address through necessary economic reforms.
Because of the difficult but necessary economic reforms we have undertaken, Jamaica is now better prepared for future shocks, whether it is another pandemic, a natural disaster, or a global economic downturn. Today, our healthcare sector is stronger. It is stronger in terms of the infrastructure. It is stronger in terms of the number of professionals that we have. We still need to pay some attention to remuneration and care.
Dr. Holness says the government is continuing its response to strengthening and building a robust healthcare system. Approximately $45 million will be used to undertake short-term works to the entrance of the Alley Bridge in Clarendon over the next 6 months. The announcement comes from Minister with Responsibility for Works, Robert Morgan, who was responding to questions during a meeting of the Standing Finance Committee of Parliament on Thursday. Minister Morgan says further work on the bridge will require a detailed engineering estimate, which will take approximately 1 year. He indicates that once this is done, the work will be classified as a capital project, requiring an estimated $1.2 billion.
Because the bridge is in such a low-lying area, it's not like a river that runs deep. The river essentially is almost at land level because it's a floodplain, and it is a very important artery to southern Clarendon. So the solution to the Alley Bridge is not going to be in this financial year, but we will be doing some work on the entrance or the approach to the bridge this financial year.
The Alley Bridge connects Lionel Town to several other heavily populated southern Clarendon communities, including Racecourse, Kemps Hill, and Banks. The bridge was one of the structures damaged during the passage of Hurricane Beryl. And finally, the Jamaica Legal Information Portal, JLIP, is set to become operational by April 2025. This assurance was given by Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, Marlene Malahoo Fort, during Thursday's meeting of the Standing Finance Committee of Parliament. JLIP aims to enhance public access to Jamaica's laws, educate citizens on legal matters, and provide a platform for the public to query and comment on legislation.
We have received numerous concerns about the availability of the gazettes. So when this project is complete, access to the gazettes will be made a lot easier. Work on the portal commenced on February 19, 2024, and is expected, all things being equal, to be completed by April of this year.
The project is now in its final stages of the user acceptance testing process. The portal will feature advanced search functionality, expanded access to laws in various formats, and improved availability of Jamaica Gazette publications. It will also highlight key judicial and legislative developments. Funding is being provided by the World Bank under its Foundations for Competitiveness and Growth project. A contract valued at just over $31 million was awarded to European firm Softengy to develop the portal. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
It's that time when we update you on the key events and developments at the Office of the Prime Minister over the last week. Welcome to Jamaica House Weekly.
Disaster risk management document now in place. Preliminary violence prevention report received. More NSHP houses delivered. And women celebrated. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Jabertha Atkinson. Welcome. Jamaica now has a disaster risk management document to guide the country's preparedness against shocks. It was received by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness on Thursday from the Disaster Risk Management Review Committee. Dr. Holness says in recent times, shocks are proving to be more unpredictable, overlapping in nature, more intense and more frequent. As such, the country must be prepared.
Which means that the resources required for recovery from these kinds of events would be far greater than before. So the only way to mitigate against shocks is to be prepared. And the preparedness requires us to be always on top of the systems that we have and to ensure that we have the resources in place.
Dr. Holness says he's hopeful that the report will identify the gaps and make suggestions on how to improve our disaster preparedness. Prime Minister Holness was brought up to date with a preliminary report from the National Commission for Violence Prevention. The presentation was made by Chair of the Commission, Professor Maureen Sams-Vaughan. The 400-page document evaluates 51 violence prevention programs within the country that are at different levels. It includes an executive summary and recommendations, which the Prime Minister will review with members of his cabinet. Once the assessment is completed, a formal announcement will be made to the country on the findings and implementation of the recommendations. Dr. Holness says the objective is to create a comprehensive all-of-society enterprise to engineer a social and cultural transformation of the Jamaican society and culture away from crime and violence.
We know that the level of violence in the society and that people experience almost on a daily basis is not healthy, and that there are well-defined programs and practices that, if they were mainstream or systemized, would have an impact on just the quality of life that people experience.
The National Commission for Violence Prevention was empaneled to develop a 10-year evidence-based national action plan with recommendations for legislative changes and institutional building. The plan will also include governance and best practices around a full national mobilization to control and reduce violence as a feature of the society. Last week, Prime Minister Holness also made an appeal to women to play a more influential role in steering men and boys away from a life of crime and criminality.
Mothers, you are your sons' first teachers. You shape their values, their attitudes, and their understanding of right and wrong. I urge you, talk to your sons. Talk to them.
Dr. Holness points out that the number of young men who are creating the problems in society is no more than 5% of the total cohort.
So, with the help of the mothers, sisters, grandmothers, girlfriends, and friends, if we can reach out to those problem 5%, we can save their lives. And we can put them on a pathway like the thousands of others who are struggling, who are facing the hardship the same way, but have decided that they are not going to engage in crime.
The Prime Minister was reinforcing the objectives of Peace Day on March 4. It's an initiative aimed at fostering a culture of peace and non-violence within educational institutions, homes, and communities. Housing was another top priority for Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. He broke ground on Friday for the Mount Nelson housing scheme being developed by the National Housing Trust in Manchester. The development will consist of 1,758 housing solutions, which include 1- and 2-bedroom detached units and serviced lots.
This development represents the dreams of families who will soon call this place home, and aligns with our administration's commitment to providing safe and affordable houses.
Still in Manchester, Dr. Holness also brought comfort to 3 families by presenting them with keys to their homes. These were delivered under the new social housing program.
This house that you have given to us is not only a roof over our head, but it is our home. the objective of the program, in addition to efficiency and effectiveness, is to improve dignity.
The strength and resilience of Jamaican women was acknowledged as a reaffirmation of the government's commitment to supporting their empowerment. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness recognized the 5 women who are a part of his cabinet and other women in government in observance of International Women's Day. He pointed out that 38% of the Senate was comprised of women and 13 of the 17 females in the House of Representatives were in his administration.
It is a demonstration of the progress that the nation has made, particularly by supporting and empowering women. And as Prime Minister, I am proud to stand at the helm of a government that recognizes the vital contributions of women to the success of our country.
And finally, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says the government will be assisting residents in downtown Kingston who were displaced by recent fires which destroyed their homes. During a tour of the area on Tuesday, Dr. Holness said while he understood the urgency of the situation, several steps needed to be taken before any substantial rebuilding or assistance could occur.
Before we can assist in any meaningful way other than the humanitarian assistance, which is already in train, the building assistance, we have to determine the ownership of the land. That's number one. And then we have to do some social investigation into the circumstances of the persons to determine the extent to which we can help. All of that we are going to put into train to ensure that we can help the persons dislocated to come back to some form of normalcy.
The victims are from Love Lane in Fletcher's Land, Kingston Western, and also Fleet Street and Lad Lane in Kingston Central. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
Thinking about applying to be a Justice of the Peace but have an expunged record? While your past conviction is cleared, it's important to know how it affects your application. Here's a quick guide to help you understand the process and move forward.
Imagine you've turned your life around after a mistake that led to a criminal record. The slate has been wiped clean through the process of expungement. But now, you are faced with a new challenge, a desire to serve your community as a Justice of the Peace JP. However, one question lingers in the back of your mind. Will my past, though officially legally erased, still haunt my future? Let's find out. But first, who is a Justice of the Peace and what is meant by the term expungement? A Justice of the Peace, commonly referred to as a JP, is a person of unquestionable integrity who seeks to promote and protect the rights of individuals. JPs are essential figures in the community, serving in various capacities that include witnessing documents, serving as lay magistrates, and playing crucial roles in the legal and judicial system. Now let's talk about expungement. This term refers to the process of having a conviction removed from one's criminal or police record after a specific period has elapsed and certain requirements have been met. It's a legal way to ensure that past mistakes don't define your future. If you're looking to become a JP, here's the first step in the application process.
You may apply by first going on the Ministry of Justice's website at moj.gov.jm, and you can download the application to become a Justice of the Peace. If you do not have access to the internet, then you may visit the custos in your parish and access a form. We also have the application forms at our justice centers, or you may come to the Ministry of Justice at 61 Constant Spring Road to get an application form.
Once you have the application form, you'll need to gather the necessary documents.
So you have to be able to establish your age, your date of birth. And so you need your birth certificate. If it is that you have a name change, you may need to provide, for example, if you have gotten married, a marriage certificate, or if you have done a depol. And so you may have to take the necessary steps just to make sure that the official name that you carry is validated through these instruments. So you should have a copy of those to be provided to the ministry through your custos.
You will also have to obtain 2 letters of recommendation. You may get the letters of recommendation from a justice of the peace or a police officer at the rank of superintendent upwards. A pastor of a church may also provide the recommendation. One crucial aspect of the application process is the declaration of any past criminal convictions.
But what the government of Jamaica has done through the Criminal Records Rehabilitation of Offenders Act under Section 25, what it speaks to on the legal status, and I prefer to read the exact language of it. It says, a rehabilitated person shall, in relation to any expunged conviction for all purposes in law, be deemed to be a person who has never been charged with, prosecuted for, convicted of, or sentenced for the offense to which that conviction relates. Once the record is expunged, there is no need for you to make that indication on the form.
So simply put, having an expunged record does not stop you from becoming a justice of the peace, but it's important to take the necessary steps to ensure you have a clean record.
And so even though the steps would have been taken, approval given, and the records are expunged, if they do not take the additional steps to pay to the criminal records to have a clean record, the possibility of traces and evidence of them having been convicted could have implication.
Assuming you've taken the proper steps and have a clean record, now with the JP application form completed and submitted to the relevant custos, what's next?
Now, once the custos is in receipt of the application form, that custos has an obligation to ensure a discreet inquiry utilizing a police officer from the rank of inspector upwards. And once the custos would have conducted a discreet inquiry on the applicant, then the custos, having been satisfied that that applicant has a potential to continue to serve in his community, is a person of integrity based on the content of his application form, then the custos will submit that application to what we call the Justice of the Peace Advisory Committee, to which a custos is a chair, and that comprises 3 other persons: a judge, a police officer, and a person nominated by the Minister of Justice. That committee will assess the application and make a recommendation to the Minister of Justice to say that this applicant is suitable to be considered for the office of Justice of the Peace. The Minister will then make a recommendation to the Governor General for that person's appointment.
But before the Minister makes a recommendation to the Governor General,
the applicants are required to complete a training program at the Justice Training Institute. It is 18 hours contact to introduce them to the Office of Justice of the Peace and the requisite legislations that they will have to be mindful of that empowers them to carry out their functions.
Becoming a Justice of the Peace is a process that requires dedication, integrity, and a commitment to serving the community. Even with an expunged record, the opportunity to serve in this esteemed role is still within reach. Your past does not have to dictate your future.
Flu season is here. Let's fight the flu with these tips. Stay up to date with recommended flu vaccines. Practice good hygiene, that is frequent hand washing and sanitizing, covering your mouth and nose when sneezing, and sanitizing frequently touched surfaces. You're also encouraged to eat a balanced diet, take vitamin and mineral supplements, stay hydrated, and stay away from persons displaying flu-like symptoms. Protect yourself this flu season.
So it is important for us at JCA that our customers are treated fairly, right? And we know it's easy. I'm being frank, it's easy to blame customs for everything. But how do you verify whether customs is charging you or not? There's what we call a reference number, or we call it a C number. So if it is that you import anything, the de minimis is now $100 US. So if you import something that is $99 and your courier is saying that customs has charged you, ask your courier for the C number, go onto the customs website and check or download the mobile app, type in your reference number, and you are able to see what the payment was. Your courier must provide you with a customs invoice. And if you have problems after that, send something to quick.response@jca.gov.jm and we will follow through, because we take these matters very, very serious. Send a report with your detail, identifying who you are, what your import is, who is your courier company, and the challenges that you are having. And what we will do as the regulator, as the persons who authorize the courier companies to submit documentation on your behalf, electronic documentation, we will investigate. And I can tell you that our CEO has taken a zero-tolerance stance against freight forwarders, couriers who are perpetrating these type of, I call them offense, against the customers. And there are avenues that are available if they continue to do these things, that there is redress and there are things that can be done. For example, we hope we don't get to that, but the commissioner has the power to suspend their access to our platform where these declarations are submitted. So we urge the courier companies, comply, treat your customers well, give them the correct information, and there's still opportunity for you to continue to make a wonderful living from the trade.
And that's it for today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Remember, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a battle of their own. Do join us again tomorrow for another informative show. In the meantime, visit our website, gis.gov.jm, for more news you can use. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Stay safe.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.